Welcome everyone. So today I'm going to talk about living a healthy life. I'm from Changing Lifestyles. Like they said, I'm the health education director. So I am a registered dietitian in Changing Lifestyles. We do a lot of things. We do diabetes education, lactation, and we center around living a healthy lifestyle. So our objective for this presentation is to be inspired about living a healthy life. So my hope is by the end of this presentation you feel much inspired. I'm not an English major, but I'm going to be throwing out a lot of different definitions of words, and I'm hoping to shift your perspective a little bit. So first, because Changing Lifestyles is about prevention and health, we want to first ask the definition, what is health? Anybody? Any thoughts?
Your body, the condition of your body.
I like that definition, the condition of your body. The state of being free from illness or injury, right? So we can think of different types of disease. We have the chronic disease, and then we also have obvious acute disease. So something acute would be like COVID, right? Acute disease, not long-term. We can recover from it. Chronic is going to be more like type 2 diabetes. Things associated with metabolic syndrome, which we're going to talk about here in a second. I think these two are so connected, health and nutrition. So the next question I ask is, what is nutrition?
Feeding your body.
Feeding your body, yeah. So what your body gets from food. And that's a good definition. Other people have told me homeostasis, which I think is a good way to put it. So it's the process of obtaining food necessary for health. And so a key word there is health. So they are connected. Nutrition is prevention for health, especially chronic disease. So 1 in 3 adults have metabolic syndrome. Any guesses on what metabolic syndrome is? I did throw out a big word there. Any thoughts? So according to the NCEP, the definition of metabolic syndrome is we have 3 or more criteria that needs to be met out of 5. That criteria are waist circumference over 40 inches in men. For women, it's 35 inches. So having this central obesity puts us at risk for our health. Having a blood pressure over 130 over 85, so that's going to be considered high blood pressure. Having a high lipid panel, so your fasting triglycerides are going to be over 150. Your fasting HDL is going to be less than 40. We want it to be above 40. For men, we want it actually above 50 for women, because women are a lot more complicated, and we need those healthy fats for hormone regulation. And then we want our fasting blood sugars to be, we want them to be less than 100. If they're over 100, that's going to put us at risk. So all these things, in summary, high blood pressure, not a great fat panel that you get after your labs, you have that central obesity, those are going to put you at risk for metabolic syndrome. And then 1 in 3 adults have prediabetes.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's crazy that these statistics are here and they're rising. And we think certainly the environment in the United States plays into this, how we eat, what we do, how we cope plays into these statistics. So prediabetes, definitely there's an anchor there for aging that promotes diabetes. There's a genetic factor, but also there's a lifestyle factor. So a hemoglobin A1C, I don't know if you've heard about that, a hemoglobin A1C greater than 5.7 is going to put you in the diabetes range. So 5.7 to 6.4. And what a hemoglobin A1C is it tells us what our blood sugars have been for the past 2 to 3 months. So it's an average of glycated hemoglobin, so it's the glucose, it's in our blood, and it's what's the percent of glucose attached to the blood.
So that range you gave, that's pre-diabetes or diabetes?
Yep, so pre-diabetes.
Okay.
So it's 5.7 to 6.4.
Okay.
So for diabetes, and here's our next statistic, is it's going to be above 6.5.
Okay.
And so if you're diabetic and you're trying to manage, the American Diabetes Association goal is always below 7%. So if you can keep between that 6.5 and 7% range, that's good. And that'll avoid complications from diabetes they've seen from long-term studies. So according to the CDC, 11.7% of Americans have diabetes. So when we put that into actual numbers, that's about 30 million Americans, 29 million Americans. And this number's growing. And we see it grow every year. So that was in 2022.
Did
So
you see that go up during the pandemic? Or
A little
probably
bit.
didn't go to the doctor,
Uh-huh.
so afterwards, did that go up?
we did a little bit, and we saw the cases go up, and they don't know exactly why.
Because they stayed
Um,
home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're trying to determine people maybe stayed home, depression. I'm going to talk a little bit here later in this presentation of how it's all encompassing, how we sleep, how our mood is, how all of it encompasses a healthy lifestyle and has a ripple effect. When we look at the chart, our leading causes of death in the United States, number 1 is heart disease, number 2 is cancer. Do you think that both of those can be prevented by good nutrition and prevention?
Correct.
Yeah, definitely. So cancer, we know prostate cancer, there is good data that says prostate cancer can be prevented with nutrition.
Really?
But that's the only one that we have good data on. But so some cancers, so like the foods we eat, right, our bright colors, they provide us antioxidants, which help protect us. Heart disease, absolutely, right? We talked about the metabolic syndrome.
Yeah.
Strokes, same thing. Chronic lung disease, probably not, but lifestyle, right? Smoking. Obesity, if we have obesity, we may be at risk for some sleep apnea, that affects, so indirectly maybe, but definitely heart disease, cancer, strokes. Not necessarily accidents, unless you choke on a hamburger,
I was
right?
just gonna say, you're
Yeah.
eating the fast food, yeah.
Yeah, you choke on a hamburger.
Yeah.
Alzheimer's disease, they are finding a link to diet. There's can be some prevention. They're doing a lot of research on the MIND diet, where they take like a lot of the anthocyanins in berries and see the benefit of delaying the progression of the disease. So not directly, but there may be some therapy that can help with it. Diabetes, not type 1, but type 2 certainly. And the kidney disease, absolutely. Suicide, I would say, one of the most common deficiencies in the United States is vitamin D deficiency. Vitamin D deficiency, a sign of it, is depression, clinical depression. So indirectly, but making sure we're getting enough vitamin D can certainly help our mental status. Okay, so that kind of circles back on the prevention, the importance of prevention and health. When we look at the spectrum here, you can definitely see some more nutrition related, right? These are things that we can prevent and are in our control. So we have the diabetes, hypertension, heart disease, obesity, iron deficiency, anemia, vitamin and mineral deficiencies with the toxicity. On the less related, we have the things that are out of our control, genetic levels of things, right? So cancer's kind of in the middle there.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I've always wondered, like with the vitamin mineral deficiencies, are these supplements that are out there, like now they've got those greens or the
That's-
wheat stuff and all
uh-huh.
that, are they do they fill that need, or is it really better to get it from food?
It's a good question. So, the supplement industry is not well regulated.
Yeah,
So the FDA does not have good regulatory standards for the supplement industry. So knowing what you're getting can be difficult. And knowing what, some of them are based off of, we have RDAs and AIs. And RDA stands for Recommended Daily Allowance. And that's based off of essentially 98% of the population when you're looking at a bell curve and statistics. A lot of those vitamins, like a daily multi, is based on that. As far as ones that aren't based on that data in science, it's iffy.
yeah,
You want to really make sure you're looking at the products. Sometimes, we take medications and we forget that those interact with
Right.
certain things. And yeah, we don't thrive. We thrive at the right amount, right? We don't thrive at too much or too little.
well, I think that's what I've noticed, is that some of those are like, 200% over the RDA.
Yeah, so there is such
Yeah,
thing as
and then,
over
so then what are you
supplementing.
looking at there, yeah,
Yes, you want to be really careful. And for toxicity, you make a good point. The ones you have to be really careful for with are fat soluble vitamins. So like vitamin K, A, D, and E. Those are all your fat soluble. And they do have a toxicity threshold, so they have an upper limit. And you don't want to ever take beyond that upper limit.
yeah, geez.
Vitamin D is controversial because vitamin D we also get from the sun.
Right,
And so there's not a lot of data to support living at above 39 degrees latitude with how much sun we get. So here in Colorado, we get good sun in the summer months,
right,
but in the winter months, it's cold, so we're covered. And so in order to, like a medium fair-skinned person to get the vitamin D they need for the day, they have to spend 15 minutes out in the sun, skin to sun contact. Yeah. And so people
Wow.
don't realize that. So, for that specific population here in Colorado, it'd be nice to see more data on,
how the supplement works with that.
yeah, like over winter, how
Yeah.
much, like we get a lot of sun exposure and a lot of vitamin D over the summer.
Right.
So what should supplementation look like in the winter versus, backing off
So
in
what
the
is
summer?
excess vitamin D, what are the, or what is, can you,
So you can actually, that's a good question.
Yeah.
That's one that you can get your levels checked and easy to get from your doctor.
right,
Times that it may be warranted is if you have like a high TSH and they're trying to investigate what's due to your thyroid, what's going on with your thyroid. You can get your vitamin D checked because it can cause hypothyroidism if you have vitamin D deficiency.
cause hyper? or
Hypo.
Hypo.
So it would
okay.
cause your TSH to be high,
Yeah,
but it could cause you, to be hypo.
huh,
So you can get it checked. Some people, elderly people, can be as deficient. The most two common deficiencies are B12 and vitamin D.
right,
They can be as deficient as needing up to like 50,000 international units, where the upper limit has only been studied up to 4,000 international units.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that one's real controversial, where you
Sure.
really have to have it doctor advised. Because if you're absorbing it appropriately, then you don't, and you live in Florida, right? You want to be careful with your
Right.
supplementation. So that one's like super mixed.
Interesting.
But the other ones, you want to be careful. So, good questions. Thank you. So the goal here, though, for living a healthy life is we want to make sure we make that health span as long as we can, right? A lot of people, unfortunately, are living with a lot of interconnected chronic diseases. So we see a lot of people at our care centers they have cardiovascular disease, but then they've also got diabetes, maybe some depression, and some cancer playing in. The goal is to expand your health span so then you only have that short period of illness right? We don't want to be living with chronic diseases for a long time. So what's the secret? This is where we get into the magic. This is where the magic. We built the foundation and now we're going to start talking about the magic. So prevention is key. And what's the magic to prevention? How do we get there? Navigating life can be hard. We run into a lot of bumps in the roads, a lot of hard things in life, a lot of barriers, a lot of obstacles. Sticking to a healthy lifestyle can be hard. We all have really busy lifestyles, and we're trying to, keep good funds for our family. We're trying to do so many things, and sometimes we put ourselves last. We're very last on the list. So, first thing I want to do to kind of shift your perspective on this whole healthy lifestyle thing is I want to do a black dot activity. Has anybody ever done the black dot activity? Do you know where I'm going with this? So, get the black dot. I'm going to give everybody the black dot, and what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to write down what you see on that paper. What do you see? And I'll give everybody about 2 minutes to write down what they see.
Looking at the black dot.
Yep, looking at the black dot, what do you see on that paper? Okay, time's up. Carol, what did you see?
I see a nose.
You see a nose? I like that answer. It's very conceptual and creative. You see a nose? I like that answer. Okay. Anyone else? George? Okay. So the answer I get for most people is they see a black dot, right? It's almost too obvious, right?
Yeah.
They see a black dot. But nobody mentions, I like that you were creative and you thought outside of the box. Nobody mentions the white space.
Well, I did put Oreo also.
You saw an Oreo. Which means you did mention the white space because an Oreo includes the best part, right?
That's right, exactly.
And what's the best part is the filling, the white filling, the frosting.
Yes, the top of an Oreo.
So I like that, right? They didn't talk about the frosting. Most people don't talk about the frosting in life. And that's kind of what I want to talk to you about. They focus on the bad. They tend to be so hyper-focused on the bad, they don't see this. So I'm shifting your perspective, and I want you to think good. And I want you to remember, you can't pour from an empty cup, right? We've heard that before. You can't heal if you're broken. We've heard that one before. When life gives you lemons, what do you make?
Lemonade.
Lemonade, yep, you make lemonade. Okay, next one is after it rains, anybody? After it rains, what is there after it rains? You look for the rainbow.
Oh, okay.
Yep. After it rains, you look for the rainbow. When it's dark, what do you do when it's dark? You look for the stars. And so where am I going with this? Oh, this is way off. We'll go back to it. And that's not the relish I'm talking about. But it's good to know, right? It's a condiment eaten with plain food to add flavor. Use salsa as a relish with grilled meat or fish. But what if we changed our perspective about healthy lifestyle? We became a little more conceptual, like Carol was, and we saw the Oreo with the frosting in the middle. And we saw all that white space that life had for us. And we thought of our perspective of doing a healthy lifestyle more from a positive standpoint, to relish. He was relishing his moment of glory. And so I want to talk about this connects to joy, and then I'm going to tie it back into everything. But I think when we do things and we make healthy choices, we need to do things we enjoy, and we need to do things that are sustainable. And I think we tend to take that away, and we tend to be sabotaging. So I want to read you a poem after I share this definition. Joy is a feeling of great pleasure and happiness. Why can't we be joyful in a healthy lifestyle? We tend to think, oh, I have to eat that salad today. I have to go to the gym. Where can this joy sneak in? So here's my joy poem. And here's joy. I don't know if you've ever seen the Inside Out. Did you ever watch this with Marley? This is joy. And it's a really good show. We don't want to let sadness creep in. We want to have joy. And I'm going to read about her today. Joy does not arrive with a fanfare on a red carpet strewn with flowers of a perfect life. Joy sneaks in as you pour a cup of coffee, watching the sun hit your favorite tree just right. But as you usher joy away, you're not ready for it. Your house is not as it must be for such a distinguished guest. But joy cares nothing for your messy home or your bank balance. Joy is supposed to slither through the cracks of your imperfect life. That's how joy works. You cannot invite her. You can only be ready when she appears. And you can hug her with meaning because in this very moment, joy chose you. That was a poem by Harry Baker. But where am I going with this? Because I kind of took a left here talking about joy and relish. I really took a left when I talked about the hot dog relish. For healthy lifestyles, we forget. This is a common denominator I run into with people over and over again. And we find we always have to redirect them back to, okay, today we're talking about nutrition and your goals. And I'm not a psychologist or a social worker, but it all is encompassing, and it's important to know that we need to take care of ourselves. We need happy hormones too. So being aware of those and creating those in a healthy lifestyle and doing things that you thoroughly enjoy that are healthy. So when you think of your reward chemicals, listening to music, trying something new, doing something creative, checking something off your list, that gives us the dopamine reward. Oxytocin is the relationships and friendships, hugging someone you love. Pets, they give us that. Pets, horses, Carol, horses, they give you the oxytocin. Doing something nice for somebody, spending time with friends. And then the serotonin, exercise, we need the exercise. We can try to get rid of it, but we need it. A patient told me one thing that she really loves to do, and has made it a habit, and this is where my point is going. She gets home from work every day, and she gets on her elliptical and turns on her favorite TV show. And that's her routine, and now it's become a habit, and she loves it. So when you're going through a healthy style change, you want to do something you enjoy, because when you don't, and I'll circle back on this, it's never sustainable. It's never sustainable.
Isn't that, and I don't know if you all do that with your lactation, but isn't that what you do to help produce or drop milk?
Yeah, it's a cool hormone.
Yeah.
So it moves the milk. So it's the love hormone.
I was just going to say, it's interesting that you have those when...
So that's why, and this is the lactation consultant
Yeah.
coming out in me, but I'm glad you asked that. So that's why they say, if you've had a baby, they say skin to skin within the first hour.
Right.
Because that love hormone activates, and it'll move your milk quicker.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, the mom has colostrum. So
Right.
it's quite thick.
Yeah.
But yeah, it will start with the oxytocin, working with the prolactin. It helps the prolactin starts producing the milk, and the oxytocin will move it. Yeah, isn't that cool? And so that's why they even say dads
Yeah.
can take their shirts off. Have you heard that? And hold the baby?
Really?
Because then that bond. that oxytocin is there when the baby cries and the affection, yeah.
Huh.
Yep. I know, funky, but
No, I mean,
it is
that's-
biology, yep. That's pretty cool.
Can you send me that
Yeah.
slide? Okay.
Uh-huh. But this is the common thing. People have a hard time coping, right? We go to the wrong things. And oftentimes food is emotional.
Mhm.
But whether it's, drugs, alcohol, food, smoking, the goal here is learning how to cope in a healthy lifestyle, and address your feelings and the happy hormone needs, because we need them. We all need them. And when we don't have them, we need to figure out a way to get them. Vitamin D is another one for serotonin, and that's why people have
Right.
that depression.
Right.
So why do we force ourselves to make changes that we don't enjoy? And I just like to repeat that. Why do we force ourselves to make changes we don't enjoy? So sometimes, I find myself even sitting down, what's something I would really enjoy? And I've thought about, riding my bike when the sun sets, those kinds of things. Things that give you true pleasure but meet that healthy lifestyle need. And, realizing when you need, sometimes we sabotage ourselves, I don't deserve to relax. Realizing when it's time to rest, but when it's time to go. Do diets work? What do you think? What do you think? They can for a little while. They can for some people. And that's the key there. They can for some people. It has to be what works for you. And what you believe, you really need to look inside what you believe is going to work for you. Because I think we do. We get so many judgments from other people of what they think we need to do or what they did that worked for them. This next fad diet, this next hot new trend, right? But none of that's sustainable if you don't believe in it. Because it starts with you. And it can work. And people come to me and say, hey, I want to do the keto. Okay, let's see how we can make this work and see how we can make it sustainable.
Right.
Or I want to do intermittent fasting. Well, let's talk about it. Let's see how we can work this in, meet your goals. But again, at the end of the day, how can we make it sustainable?
Right.
Is this going to work for you? So then this leads to the question of sustainable, healthy living. What is it? What does it involve? Well, we know it's going to be flexible. It has to be. Because like I said in that prior slide, navigating life is hard. And we run into barriers, we run into roadblocks, we run into unanticipated things that happen that just throw us off. And the key is to get back on the horse. So it needs to be flexible. We need to be able to be intuitive. It's balanced. We want balance. When I worked for Garfield County Public Health earlier in my career, a lot of the focus was on raising a healthy eater. And that I really like that emphasis on it, especially with my history of an eating disorder. That word balance is so important to me. And I think what I learned when I worked with a lot of kids is just as you can have a child that's afraid of broccoli, you can have a child that's afraid of chocolate pudding. A healthy eater is a diverse eater. We don't want to demonize up foods. When you're at a birthday party, when you're at your granddaughter's birthday party, you want to be able to enjoy that slice of cake
Right.
because it's about enjoying a healthy life. Enjoying a healthy life. Living a healthy life. We want to enjoy life. It involves healthy eating, but it's not all the time, right? It involves it. It involves good sleeping habits, because really it does. It is circular, that's for sure. We got to sleep good at night for those hormones to work right. Stress management, that's why I talked about the happy hormones, because that cortisol plays a big role. And the mindfulness, when we tune into that emotional eating and we're more aware of it, we can do a lot of things. Being aware of our emotions, because food is a very emotional. And so there is a part where we have to talk about it. Healthy coping behaviors. So how do we cope when something gets tough? Do we go home, and eat because we're stressed? Or do we realize that we're stressed and learn how to do something that meets that need for the stress? Right? I need to relax. When I'm stressed, I need to relax. So what's going to meet that need for the stress? Maybe a hot bubble bath. What is your form of stress relief? Maybe some music. Maybe some people say exercise. My husband says when he's angry, the way he's learned to get it out is to literally get it out. Because sometimes we have those negative emotions built up all day. He goes and works it out. He literally hits the gym and he pumps it out with the weights. Self-care. I think that one I added as its own bullet point because we forget. We save ourselves for last. Because we care. We care about our families. We care about our finances. We care about our career. But we forget about ourselves a lot. And it's an individualized approach. That's why we can't categorize it. We can't say this diet is the cure-all, because it's not. Because it might not work for this person, but maybe it worked really well for this person. We're all individuals with our own experiences, and the reason we cope with things or how we eat with food is emotional. It's going to be so different from one person to the next. We have experiences with food by association. It's so different. Our lifestyles, our barriers. Maybe so-and-so doesn't have a husband that goes home and likes to eat 2 tubs of ice cream at night, right? And so then you're crossed with that barrier of having ice cream in your freezer at night. It has to be so individualized because the barriers are so different. Maybe this person doesn't have a desk job, but this person does. We have to make goals for that individual. And this is my favorite part, and this is why I put it in the caps. And I emphasize it again because I want to emphasize the joy and the relish in this. Not the relish we put on our hot dog, but the relish in the moment and the relish in the joy. I think a healthy lifestyle like joy can sneak in as you pour a cup of coffee, watching the sun hit your favorite tree just right. It involves healthy habits you actually enjoy. It involves moments that you actually believe in. And it involves a life with purpose. Right? Once you get that, I think you've reached the gold. So, I do want to share another poem, me and my poems. I don't know if anybody's heard this, but some of my clients have, and a lot of my coworkers, but I call myself Drew the Decorating Dietitian. And I like, through this presentation, I'm sure you've noticed, I like a lot of metaphors. I like comparing things. But I do want to talk to you about thinking about your home. But I want you to think about your body as your home. I like to do a lot of do-it-yourself projects, and I like to take a beautiful space and recreate it. In the same sense, though, I want you to think about your body. So I'm going to read this poem from Josie Baca, very inspiring, but as I read it, I want you to think more about your body, metaphorically, to your home. Your body is like your home. It is the place you are meant to live. Oh, your body is like your home. I just want to say that's a simile. That came from my English years. Keyword like. Your body is like your home. It is the place you are meant to live forever. I hope that, like your home, you can make it a place you're comfortable. It takes time and it takes work. Most often, it's the work you put in on the inside that makes the biggest difference. It isn't common to look at other people's smaller houses and wish you had a smaller house too. I hope that one day you can sit with yourself at the end of a busy day, and it can be as restful and as safe as walking through your door on a cold winter's night. Feeling the warmth of the front hallway and kicking off those shoes. As you sit, even if you see things you want to change, my hope is that you'll give yourself time. The same way that you save up money to make changes on your home. If you started to treat your body like your home, it would be okay with just one small change at a time. So, in summary, right, if we treat our body like our home, right, a lot of us don't have big funds or accounts, and with our home takes time. It takes time. You buy a new home to make it yours. You know, okay, this year we're going to do the kitchen. Next year, you know, or in the next 2 years, we have budget to work on this room or this bathroom. Home takes time. So just like that, I want you to think about your body, a little step at a time. When we say the turtle wins the race, it is so true. Slow wins the race. Slow and steady wins the race. We want it fast, quick, and immediate. When I sit down with patients and clients, I say slow and steady wins the race. So when we talk about goals, let's bring this to, you know, realism. Let's talk about what your goals are, but let's talk about why we gotta go slow and steady. We're creating a sustainable, healthy lifestyle you enjoy. We're not making someone else's rules. We're making your own rules. Rules that you believe in. So when we think about SMART goals, this goes back. That's why we got it slow and steady. And when we go SMART, we go way smart. And we really hone in. So SMART stands for, anybody? I have it there. It's a little bit of a cheat. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. So when we make goals for ourselves, working on health goals, you know, it can be as simple as, okay, first, I want to lose 5 pounds this month. I mean, don't go too big, because when we go too big and then we fail, we get discouraged. When we think about it though, 5 pounds in a month, that's 60 pounds in a year, right? That's big. When you can look back on the year and say, I lost 60 pounds this year. We just don't want to go that, you know, slow. But when you think 1 to 2 pounds a week is actually 60 pounds in a year. So we want to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant. So it can be as simple as, you know, we like to do a food goal and exercise goal. You know, you're eating ice cream late at night, figuring out how to quit that habit and find something you enjoy. Instead, maybe you're going to read a book with a cup of Sleepy Time tea. I found this tea that I loved, and this is probably why I brought this up, because it's the goal that I made for myself. It's like a sweet almond tea. So instead of that, I'm hydrating myself with a sweet almond tea. And, you know, we've switched, and now we're having 280 less calories at night. Right? So it's little small changes that are specific enough and achievable enough can win the race. And just slow and steady. Right? So, you know, and it's overwhelming to think about, you know, we try to do it, you know, 3 months at a time, a month at a time. With patients, I like to see them once a month. So we do it 1 month at a time. And that accountability for someone to sit and say, hey, what about this? Simplify it. We try to overcomplicate it. We really do. And we don't give ourselves grace. We don't give ourselves enough grace. So slow and steady wins the race. Okay, that is the end of my presentation. Does anybody have any questions? I want you to remember, slow and steady wins the race.